They laughed, they doubted, they thought you were bluffing, and the moment you walked away without looking back, something inside them cracked. Because this isn't just about distance. This is about the day someone realized they underestimated your cutoff game, and now the regret is haunting them in ways they never saw coming. Lana here, and let me tell you, the energy around this message is intense. This is for the one who stayed quiet, stayed composed, and made a decision that shifted the entire dynamic. You didn't argue, you didn't beg, you didn't announce your exit. You simply removed your presence, and that silence became louder than any confrontation ever could. They truly believed you would return once emotions cooled. They believed they still had access to you. What they didn't understand was that when you reached your limit, it was already too late for apologies. This reading is guided by the Queen of Swords, the Five of Cups, and Justice, and together, they tell a story of clarity, loss, and karmic balance. You saw the truth clearly. You cut through confusion, manipulation, and excuses with one clean decision. And now, on the other side of that choice, they're left sitting in the aftermath, staring at what they lost, replaying every moment they should have handled differently. What hurts them the most isn't just that you're gone, it's that you're not looking back. Your absence forced them to face themselves. And that's where the regret lives. Justice is already in motion, whether they admit it or not. The scales are shifting quietly, fairly, and permanently. Stay with Lana, because what comes next explains why this separation was never a mistake, and why the universe is now correcting what they failed to value when they had the chance. The Queen of Swords shows up when the soul has reached a point of absolute clarity. This card doesn't arrive when someone is confused, weak, or unsure. It arrives when you have already seen everything for what it truly is. By the time you step back, you weren't reacting emotionally anymore. You were responding intelligently. You had listened long enough. You had observed patterns, inconsistencies, and truths that were never spoken out loud. And once that clarity settled in, there was no going back. This queen represents a version of you that no longer negotiates with disrespect. You didn't cut them off because you stopped caring. You cut them off because you finally cared about yourself more. That's what they misunderstood. They thought your kindness meant tolerance. They thought your patience meant weakness. They thought your silence meant you didn't notice. But the Queen of Swords notices everything. She remembers every broken promise, every crossed boundary, every moment she had to shrink herself just to keep the peace. Your cutoff wasn't impulsive. It was calculated, calm, and final. You didn't need to explain yourself anymore because you had already explained too many times before. This card speaks of emotional maturity, the moment when emotions stop ruling decisions and truth takes the lead. You chose logic over longing, self-respect over attachment, and that decision was sharper than any argument could ever be. From their perspective, this is where the shock begins. They expected tears. They expected questions. They expected another chance to talk their way back in. What they didn't expect was your emotional detachment. The Queen of Swords doesn't slam doors. She closes them quietly and locks them without announcement. And now they're standing outside, confused by how suddenly they lost access to someone they assumed would always be there. This card also reveals something important. You're no longer carrying guilt. You're no longer overthinking whether you were too harsh or too cold. The Queen knows when enough is enough. She understands that protecting your peace is not cruelty. Cutting someone off after repeated disrespect is not heartless. It's honest. And honesty is what terrified them, because it exposed their behavior without you having to say a single word. Energetically, the Queen of Swords shows that your mind is clear now. You're seeing situations without rose-colored glasses. You're no longer romanticizing potential or holding on to who they could have been. You're grounded in who they actually showed themselves to be. That's why your absence feels permanent to them, because it is rooted in truth, not emotion. And truth doesn't bend just because someone feels regret. This card also carries a message of boundaries that will not be crossed again. Even if they try to come back with explanations, apologies, or emotional displays, the Queen doesn't respond to noise. She responds to consistency and accountability. You're not closed off to love. You're closed off to nonsense. And that distinction is powerful. What hurts them most is that you didn't need them to change in order to move on. Your strength came from within, not from their validation. You became emotionally self-sufficient, and that's something they never thought you would do. The Queen of Swords energy says, I see you clearly now, and because of that, I choose myself. This card confirms that your cutoff was not a loss. It was an awakening. You stepped into your authority. You reclaimed your voice by choosing silence. And the moment you did, the dynamic flipped. They lost control. You gained peace. And once the Queen of Swords has made her decision, she does not look back, because she already knows the truth. The Five of Cups comes in heavy, emotional, and unavoidable. This card carries the energy of regret that settles in after everything is already done. Not the loud kind of regrets that begs for forgiveness, but the quiet kind that creeps in late at night, when there's no one left to distract them from their own thoughts. This is the moment they finally feel the weight of what they lost, not because you explained it to them, but because your absence made it undeniable. This card shows someone staring at spilled cups, fixated on what's gone, what's ruined, what can never be returned to the way it was. That's exactly where they are now. They are replaying conversations, tone, moments where they could have chosen differently. They remember the times you gave them chances they didn't deserve, the patience you offered when they were careless with your feelings. At the time, they didn't think those moments mattered. Now, those memories are everything. What makes the Five of Cups so powerful in this reading is that the regret didn't hit immediately. At first, they felt relieved. They thought the separation was temporary. They assumed distance would soften you, that silence was just another phase. But time passed, and you didn't return. And that's when the emotional reality crashed in. The cups didn't spill all at once, they tipped slowly. And now, there's no way to pick them back up. This card speaks of emotional loss that cannot be undone. They didn't just lose a connection, they lost access to your energy, your loyalty, your emotional presence. And they didn't realize how much they depended on it until it was gone. The Five of Cups is the realization that apologies come too late, and some doors close not out of anger, but out of finality. They are mourning something they thought was guaranteed. That's the part that stings the most. They assumed you would always understand, always forgive, always wait. This card exposes that assumption as their biggest mistake. Now they are sitting with the consequences, forced to feel emotions they avoided when you were still there carrying the emotional weight for both of you. There is also shame tied to this card, a deep awareness that they were warned, that they saw the signs, and chose comfort over accountability. They know they dropped the ball. They know they underestimated you. And the Five of Cups doesn't allow them to escape that truth. Every distraction fades, and what remains is the image of what they lost, and the knowledge that they caused it. Energetically, this card shows them emotionally stuck. While you were moving forward, they are frozen in the past, emotionally replaying moments that no longer exist. They want to rewrite the story, but the chapter is already closed. And what hurts is realizing that you didn't leave because you stopped loving. You left because loving them was costing you too much. The Five of Cups also highlights something important for you. While they are focused on what's gone, you are no longer standing in that energy. You've already turned away from the spilled cups. You're not sitting in regret, you're in acceptance. And that's why their pain feels so intense compared to your calm. You processed the ending while it was happening. They're processing it now, when it's too late. This card is the emotional consequence of underestimating someone's strength. It's the aftermath of taking someone for granted. And it confirms that the regret they feel now is real, deep, and unavoidable. Not because you want them to suffer, but because growth often comes after loss. And in this case, the lesson arrived only after you were already gone. Justice comes in calm, composed, and unstoppable. This card doesn't rush, doesn't shout, and doesn't act on emotion. It simply restores balance. In this reading, justice confirms that what is happening now is not coincidence, and it's not punishment driven by anger, it's consequence. Everything that was overlooked, dismissed, or taken lightly is now being weighed with absolute fairness. When you walked away, you didn't create chaos, you stepped out of it. Justice shows that the universe took note of every imbalance, every time effort wasn't matched, every boundary that was crossed and excused. You may not have seen immediate results, but justice never works on human timelines. It works on truth. And truth always finds its way back to the surface. This card represents karmic return, but not in a dramatic, destructive way. It's subtle, precise, and deeply personal. They are now facing the emotional mirror of their own actions. The confusion you once felt has shifted to them. The uncertainty they created is now their reality. Justice ensures that energy is returned in equal measure, not to hurt, but to teach. What's powerful here is that justice stands firmly on your side without you having to fight for it. You didn't have to defend yourself. You didn't have to expose them. You didn't have to prove anything. Your decision to choose self-respect was enough to activate this energy. The moment you aligned with your truth, the scales began to move. Justice also speaks of accountability finally landing. They can no longer blame circumstances, timing, or misunderstandings. They are being forced to see their role clearly. Excuses don't hold weight here. Only actions matter. And when they review their behavior honestly, the realization hits hard. You were fair, you were patient, and you gave more than enough chances. This card brings closure without conversation. You don't need validation from them anymore because justice has already validated your experience. The imbalance you felt wasn't imagined, the hurt wasn't exaggerated, and the choice you made wasn't extreme. It was necessary. Justice confirms that walking away was the most aligned decision you could have made. There's also protection in this card. Justice doesn't just balance, it shields. It blocks further injustice from repeating itself. That means even if they attempt to re-enter your life, the dynamic will not be the same. The scales will not tip against you again. You are operating from a higher standard now, and anything that doesn't meet it simply won't have access. Energetically, justice shows you standing taller, grounded in integrity. You're no longer questioning your worth or second-guessing your choices. There's peace in knowing you did the right thing, even if it was difficult. And that peace is the reward justice delivers. Not loud happiness, but deep, unshakable calm. For them, justice feels like a wake-up call. They are realizing that actions echo longer than intentions, that words without consistency carry no weight, and that losing someone who genuinely cared is not something time easily fixes. The lesson stays until it's fully understood. Justice closes this chapter with finality and fairness. It confirms that the regret they feel now is part of the balance being restored, and it reassures you that you didn't lose anything by walking away. You gained alignment, clarity, and the protection of truth itself. When the Queen of Swords, the Five of Cups, and Justice appear together, the message becomes undeniable. This combination speaks of a moment where clarity leads to separation, separation leads to regret, and regret leads to karmic balance. It's a complete cycle, one that begins with awareness and ends with truth being fully acknowledged. Nothing in this connection ended randomly. Everything unfolded exactly as it needed to. The Queen of Swords is the starting point. This is where truth cuts through illusion. This card shows that you reached a level of understanding that could no longer be ignored. You saw through excuses, mixed signals, and emotional manipulation. You weren't acting out of coldness. You were acting out of clarity. The Queen represents the moment you chose logic over emotional attachment, self-respect over emotional chaos. Once that decision was made, the path forward was irreversible. The Five of Cups follows naturally. This is the emotional aftermath on their side. While you moved forward with a clear mind, they were left behind to process the loss emotionally. This card reveals regret that arrives too late. They didn't feel the impact while you were still present, explaining, adjusting, and forgiving. The reality only hit once the silence settled in. This is grief not just for losing you, but for losing the version of themselves they could have been if they had chosen differently. Justice seals the message. This card confirms that what followed was not imbalance or unfairness. It was consequence. Justice doesn't act emotionally. It acts truthfully. It restores balance where it was missing. You gave honesty, effort, and patience. They gave inconsistency, avoidance, or disregard. The scales had to tip eventually, and when you aligned with your truth, the universe stepped in to correct what was off. Together, these three cards tell the story of power reclaimed without cruelty. You didn't seek revenge. You didn't try to make them regret their actions. You simply removed yourself from a situation that no longer honored you. That single act was enough to activate this entire sequence. The Queen of Swords initiates the cup. The Five of Cups delivers the emotional realization, and Justice ensures the lesson is learned. This combination also highlights timing. You processed the ending intellectually and emotionally before you left. They are processing it now, after the connection has already shifted. That imbalance in timing is why their regret feels so intense. They are catching up to a truth you reached long ago, and Justice makes sure that they sit with that awareness until it's fully understood. There's also a message of validation here for you. If you ever questioned whether you were too harsh, too distant, or too final, this combination answers clearly. You were fair, you were clear, and you acted with integrity. The Queen of Swords doesn't make emotional decisions, she makes honest ones. Justice confirms that honesty was a line, and the Five of Cups shows that their pain is not caused by your absence, but by their own choices. Energetically, this trio represents emotional authority. You stepped into a space where you no longer negotiate your worth. And once that happens, the universe responds in kind. Justice doesn't just balance the situation, it elevates you beyond it. That's why there's a sense of calm around you now. While they remain emotionally unsettled, when these three cards come together, they don't speak of reconciliation through guilt or regret. They speak of closure through truth. Some lessons are learned only through loss. Some realizations arrive only when access is removed. And this combination confirms that your cutoff wasn't the end, it was the correction. This is not about punishment, it's about alignment. And when alignment happens, everyone involved is forced to face the truth, even if it comes later and even if it hurts.